Ready to go, Madam Chair?
Yes, I'm ready to go. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Committee on Urban Redevelopment and Renewal and Planning. Today is September the 9th, 2020. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Chairwoman Harris,
Present.
Vice Chairman Narducci,
Here.
Councilman Correa,
Present.
Councilwoman Castillo is absent. Councilman Espinal.
Present.
You have 4 present and 1 absent, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, the solicitors among us tonight as well, right?
That is correct.
Mrs. Solicitor, will you please introduce yourself and tell us the legality of this meeting and unmute yourself?
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. Mario Martone, Associate City Solicitor. Madam Chair, the governor has issued numerous executive orders with regard to the pandemic. One of those orders, 20-75, essentially extended her order with regard to remote hearings. And basically the order says that that cities and towns, subject to the Open Meetings Act, can conduct their hearings remotely, provided the public is provided the same access they would normally have as if the hearings were in person. And that executive order is currently in effect.
Thank you so much. Madam Clerk, I also see that we have Councilman Gonzalez and also Councilwoman LaFortune joining us. Is there any other council people besides our committee?
Not that I see, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Tonight, this meeting is, we have a resolution that's before us that have become before the Urban Committee. This meeting tonight, at the discretion of myself as the chair and with the committee as well, we are hearing public notice tonight. We're doing that in this meeting, and it's not a public hearing. Usually at a public hearing, we listen from person to person about the issue, and we usually just listen. But tonight, the committee members have every right to engage in this meeting, as we always do in every meeting. And so I would like to definitely make sure that you understand before we get started, before the clerk even reads into the record what our first item is on the agenda, I want you to understand that this is not a public hearing. But because of the ordinance that's before us, we would like to hear not only from the state, but also from the public as well. Madam Clerk, you also have 2 trainees with you. Could you also introduce them for us tonight and for the committee, for new people that don't know the new people?
Yes, Madam Chair. We have joining us tonight our 2nd Deputy City Clerk, Angela Harris, and we have our Assistant Clerk, Jacenia Fajardo.
Thank you. Thank you tonight for being here. Madam Clerk, will you please read the first item into the record, please?
Item number 1 is a resolution opposing the Rhode Island Department of Transportation proposed multi-hub bus system.
Okay. I would like to get started with this meeting by hearing from the sponsor of this resolution. Is the sponsor here?
Madam Chair, it's Councilman Correa. Can I speak just for 1 second?
Yes, Councilman Correa.
Madam Chair, I'd just like to clarify one thing, and the clerk has done that. What's before the committee tonight is a resolution, not a ordinance. I just wanted to clarify that.
I'm sorry, did I say ordinance by accident?
Yes.
Thank you for doing that. Thank you so much. I want definitely on the record that it is a resolution for some reason, I don't know why I'm speaking in a reference of an ordinance. It is a resolution tonight, and thank you, Pro Tem. Madam Clerk, do we have a sponsor, or do we have?
Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councilman Gonzalez, for addressing the floor, because I do have the little hand bar for people who know how to use it.
Sure.
Definitely, I expect a committee to address me when they need to take the floor. But please, if you are able to speak on this resolution, we'll be more than happy to hear from you.
So, Madam Chair, I apologize for my video being wonky here. Councilwoman Anthony is here, as well as Councilwoman LaFortune. So I will defer to them to potentially start.
I would like to hear from the sponsor. If it's, I think it's Councilwoman Anthony.
Anthony. Yep.
Oh, please. Here. And I will engage in the council members, as I said before, but I would like to hear her to just present this on this, again, resolution to us, you know, in the form of where she wants to start the conversation.
Well, thank you, the Deputy Majority Leader and Chairwoman of this committee. I appreciate the opportunity to address the committee. I did introduce, along with my fellow council people, particularly Councilwoman LaFortune and Councilman Gonzalez. It's a resolution in opposition to the proposed RIDOT plan for the multi-hub system through the city. So this plan has been proposed by RIDOT, and it's been in a long planning stage. As I understand that you have someone from RIDOT who will probably present, answer questions and present to you also. But this is a plan that has been coming along for quite a while. There have been different iterations. It's my understanding, I think, trying to connect the decentralize the bus hub at Kennedy Plaza, but also try to have better connections all the way through the city on the bus transit. And so, the plan was working along several iterations. And finally, during that process, I don't believe there was much stakeholder input, and certainly not from the groups that are impacted the most, the riders. There's a lot of groups such as GrowSmart that have been very involved in the transit issues across the state. As the transit riders themselves were instrumental in helping get the bond passed. That is the funds for which will be used to do this project. There are certainly other stakeholders involved. The Providence Foundation has been involved, but they've been receiving updated reports. But it's really, I think, it's the lack of involvement of the riders and the people, that are riding the transit. So the plan came out, and more or less, in the past month and a half, I have to say, maybe that's not quite accurate. At the end of July, I think, was when it was presented to council. And it just, the current iteration just was not, there was no stakeholder process for that. So again, it was popped out with any kind of, let's hear what the riders have to say in particular. I'm going to just focus on the riders, because I think if this new plan does not work for the riders, it just doesn't work. I don't think, and so I've heard that the plan is going to add some more transfers. It's going to make it more difficult for riders to get from point A to point B. And so I'm just saying that I believe the process is so flawed that we really even shouldn't be addressing the merits of the plan. I think we've got to go back to the stakeholders. And I appreciate the fact that the council is doing this in your committee in particular. But the RIDOT doesn't frankly need our permission to go forward. I'm just hoping that this is going to add to the, let people speak who haven't spoken before, to say, please consider, I'm so sorry, please consider, our voices in this plan. So I think that's why I introduced this. There are so many letters of opposition to the governor right now, asking for her to ask Alviti to go back to the drawing board. Not the drawing board entirely. There may be part of the plans that work, but if the riders are negatively impacted at all, it really doesn't work. So, and we haven't seen, frankly, any data. I haven't seen any data. I'm not sure it's been presented on the transfers, the distance from between the bus stops, that kind of thing, so that we can really get an in-depth idea of how the riders were going to be impacted. So that's really, I think, what I'd like to say at this point, and it's why I introduced the resolution.
Thank you very much, Councilwoman. I think that sets the stage for us to start to understand why this resolution is before us tonight. So thank you for that introduction. Just to make sure that we are going through things, I see I see both Councilwoman LaFortune and Councilman Gonzalez. I will be calling on you at one point, but right now I'm just trying to get the gist of what we are hearing before this committee tonight. Like I said, this is not a public hearing, but we are wanting to learn as much as we can about this resolution that Councilwoman have presented before us. So we do have some people here from the state, as I understand, Madam Clerk, right?
That is correct, Madam Chair. And also on a side note, Councilwoman Castillo has joined the meeting as well.
Thank you. I also see Councilwoman Miller. Let us acknowledge that she's also present.
So noted.
Thank you. At this time, who do we have here from the state?
The person I have from the state is, the only one I'm seeing as of right now is Mr. Devine. Did you want him to speak now or after the other speakers, Madam Chair?
May I ask Mr. Devine to speak for us to understand the process, the proposal that is set out for now, and if there is any clarifying questions, especially coming from the committee, I would like him to be available for that as well. Is that okay to have Ms. Devine come for us?
Yes, Madam Chair, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, great. Okay, I wasn't sure if the video or the voice was working, so thank you. And thanks for the opportunity and to be here tonight in front of you to discuss the resolution. First thing I want to.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Devine?
Yes.
Madam Chair, can we ask Mr. Devine to state his name and his position for the record, please?
Thank you, Vice Chairman.
Thank you.
Mr. Devine, can you please state your name for the record?
Yeah. Yes, I'm sorry. My name's Steve Devine, Devine. I'm administrator of RIDOT's transit office.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. So thank you again for the opportunity to come and speak to you. First thing I want to say is no final decisions have been made. And I think I come before you tonight to respectfully request that you hold off, and I'm asking you to hold off on any formal action on the resolution that's before you tonight until we've completed all our analysis. The analysis has not been totally completed in terms of the operations, in terms of site analysis, and give us an opportunity to come back before you with additional information and regarding some of the items the Councilwoman had mentioned. We're still in analytical mode and continue to evaluate, as I said, all the impacts on the sites. As you may recall, someone had mentioned the 2014 transit bond, and that bond referendum was actually based on a multi-hub system back then. RIPTA had done a thorough study of a multi-hub system back then. It was what went forward as the basis for the 2014 question 6 and supported by a coalition called Move Rhode Island Forward, which consisted of many of the same stakeholders that we're working with today. As far as the sites go, we continue to evaluate a couple of sites in the southern end, more towards the jewelry district, the innovation hub. There's been a lot of talk on the National Grid site. That is still a site under consideration, in addition to the Garrahy Courthouse area. The Garrahy Courthouse area was part of the original 2014 plan that RIPTA had conducted back then. So we're back taking a look at the pros and cons of these various sites. We've heard a lot of the comments, and we're hearing it. We're going back, taking a look at some more of the operations, the analysis. We believe we're making great progress towards minimizing the impacts on transfers. We understand, I think about today, 16% of Kennedy Plaza traffic makes transfers. So we're doing everything we can in conjunction with RIPTA to minimize those transfers. And you know, in order to stay in with the goals of the project, the goals are essentially the same from 2014. We want to make sure that as downtown Providence continues to grow on the south end now, with the 195 lands open and those parcels available for development, we want to make sure that transit responds accordingly. The same as we did when the train station was moved back in the mid 1980s and Capitol Center was created and developed and continues to be developed today. So our project goals, like I said, remain the same. Direct rapid connections to employment, education, residential, social, and other government centers within downtown Providence. And also, connections to the train station are critical. When the new train station was built in the mid 80s, it disconnected bus and train as it existed in Kennedy Plaza at one time. So this project, and through the DTC, the Downtown Transit Connector that RIPTA is providing, will bring that back. So we continue to take into account public comments. Our analysis is not done. We have not made any final decisions yet. And I come before you tonight to ask that you hold off on any formal action on the resolution until we can come back with more information for you.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Just Mr. Vice Chairman, before that, we appreciate the presentation that you laid out, but will you remain present for all the questions that may come up? Because I want you to also hear from people who probably want to speak to you tonight, or people have some clarification as well. But at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Vice Chairman Narducci for the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. After just hearing Mr. Devine's statement that there is nothing been finalized, that they're still working on this, I just find it kind of putting the, how do they say, cart before the horse. To even have any type of a discussion. There might be even some questions being asked tonight that Mr. Devine's not ready to even discuss or answer. Me personally, I would say that we continue to matter. I would ask that, I know you're shaking your head, no, let me finish. I would ask that DOT moving forward, make sure they do have meetings with the public to, again, to have people sit here and discuss something that's not finalized. I just think it is a bad way to start a conversation. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I appreciate that, Councilman, but our council colleague have brought this resolution before us. And you heard, I allowed the councilwoman to present the matter before us and the reason it was so important. And so she did. We did hear from DET about what they are doing. And I do know that he feels right now that this is we're moving ahead. But the concerns, maybe he want to hear what some more concerns are and address those concerns. in a way that we can hear tonight from people that maybe he can answer, maybe he can't. And maybe if he can't answer it, I agree with you. We would like to have more information if it called for that. So, although that's, go ahead, Mr.
Chair, with that being said, can I ask the city solicitor for his advice moving forward on a matter that hasn't even got off the ground yet?
Well, I appreciate that as well. Mr. Solicitor, the Vice Chairman would like to know about the process that we're using tonight only as a committee.
I think as a committee, you can discuss any matter that you so choose. With regard to the resolution, again, that would be totally up to you. You would be sending a resolution with regard to something that hasn't been finalized. I think that's just a decision that you're going to have to make as a committee, whether you would prefer to do it that way or whether you would prefer to have something final prior to sending the resolution. There may be changes that you need to make, but again, you could certainly do anything that you want. If you wanted to send a resolution, you could add to it and say that, understanding that this is not a final proposal, we still would like to send this resolution, or we still feel this way. I think on the committee level, certainly, I think you have a lot of flexibility to handle this however you want.
With that being said, Mr. Vice Chairman, I would like to hear from the people, and I would like if there is anything that Mr. Devine can clarify before the committee tonight as far as us council people. I would like to be able for him to do that. If there is more information that's needed, I definitely really appreciate what the city solicitors have given us as other alternatives. We have Councilwoman Anthony have also had people who she felt have been left out of discussion to even add to it. I will say that this is not a public hearing, and to allow the public to speak, I will be a little balanced with time, because I believe if people speak for 3 minutes, I think their point can be given. And then at one point, whatever Mr. Devine can clarify for us, if there is more things we may need. Vice Chairman.
You're the chairwoman, so again, I just I would like.
I will believe that conversations will lead to this committee making some other, we'll maybe making other decisions as well. I also see another committee member's hand up, Councilman Correa, so I would like to also follow up with him just to hear what the committees are. And again, this is a committee. This is not just me. I would like for the committee itself to be able to vet things the way we always properly do it, and I want you comfortable with it, okay? So this is not, I would like for it to go forward, but I would also like to hear from other members. So Councilman Correa.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At this time, I do have I want to say a couple of things, but I'd like to yield because Councilwoman LaFortune has been waiting patiently. So if we can go to Councilwoman LaFortune, if you don't mind.
I don't mind at all, Councilman. I was only because this committee right now have something that the Vice Chairman have brought up, which is a concern right now about moving forward. And this committee itself has every right to weigh on whether we are, this is a committee who's making a decision tonight to go forward with proceeding or to do as Councilman Narducci has suggested. So I'm just trying to get some leadership from the committee. I know that Councilwoman LaFortune's hands is up. I will hear from her, and she most likely will be speaking on the ordinance, but I really need to hear from my committee in order to make a decision whether we'll go forward with public speaking.
Councilwoman LaFortune.
Thank you, Councilwoman LaFortune.
Thank you, Deputy Majority Chair, and thank you, Pro Temp Correa, for allowing me to speak. So I just wanted to, there are a couple of things. So partly why we put in the resolution was because this was something that was presented as almost as if it's finalized. So if RIDOT are still in analytical phase and they still haven't finalized their data or the components of this plan, I don't understand why would they even put something out and present it to the public if they didn't complete their due diligence to make sure that all the components of it and requirements have been met. Partly why the community was a bit frustrated, and just to back up a bit, the first step should have been community engagement. A few years ago, the community was engaged in a multi-process in which the city planning department had facilitated as well as hosted. They engaged with the community to get community input around the transportation hubs. We thought that plan was finalized, and then this plan is something that suddenly just appeared that no one really knew about. Councilwoman Anthony is correct in terms of the lack of process, engaging with our most vulnerable community members. And the other thing we have to remember, bus transportation is our only form, is really our only form of public transportation in the city and state. It's the centerpiece of our public transportation services. And so if there are any major changes that are being made, the community, some sort of community engagement should have taken place. RIDOT should have been working with city council to host community hearings, perhaps through your committee, Deputy Majority Chair, but there should have been more engagement. So we would not have put in the resolution or worked on the resolution if all of those steps were already taken, because there would have been a process. Unfortunately, that did not happen. So if RIDOT is saying that they're still in analytical phases, they still haven't done what they should have done, I find that to be quite problematic, and I'm hearing flaws in their whole process.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, and I just want to add, and with that said, I don't think we should continue it. We should make a decision tonight, and if RIDOT wants to go back to the table to recreate a plan, then they recreate a plan and then they present it in the right manner and we could go forward. But since they didn't do all of those things in the very beginning, I do hope that the committee takes that into consideration and make a vote on this, because that is not the process that they should be engaging in.
Thank you, Councilwoman LaFortune. Also, who has his hands up is Councilman Gonzalez, and I would like to also hear from him as well.
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. I apologize if you can't see me here, but can you hear me okay?
We can hear you.
Well, I just want to reiterate what Councilwoman LaFortune and Councilwoman Anthony have said. And I want to first start off by thanking you for having this important meeting tonight, and also potentially creating the space to listen to our constituents across the city. Rhode Island Transit Riders, Grow Smart, the Jewelry District Neighborhood Association, and the RIPTA riders are standing in solidarity on this one. And with all due respect to Mr. Devine, the taxpayers who voted in 2014 for a bond referendum didn't vote for a lack of transparency of data and public input from RIDOT. So we understand Mr. Devine's points regarding the site and the operation analysis, but this is ultimately about a process, as Councilwoman Anthony suggested. And accessibility in transit is a very important issue for us. And we, of course, want to improve the connection to downtown Providence and places like the Jewelry District. There's no disputing that. And we understand that this isn't a final proposal, but this is not putting the cart before the horse. Putting the cart before the horse is essentially putting out a plan without direct input from the riders. So this is the kind of process that we just aren't thrilled about, and it's been incredibly problematic. And we need RIDOT to engage and listen to folks about why their plan isn't up to par, And quite frankly, I think a lot of the riders have had enough. So to Councilwoman Anthony and LaFortune's points, this is a matter of process, and the riders have been left out of the process, and that's been pretty clear. All of us here have constituents who rely on public transportation. And I just want us to remember that tonight, because public transportation is a matter of human rights, and people's livelihoods are literally on the line here. And I want to share a story that I actually recently heard that resonated with me. I spoke to someone recently who told me that her daughter couldn't accept a job because they depended on a RIPTA bus getting to the place where she needed to be, and there were no connections or bus routes to the job that she had been offered. Now, that's with the current infrastructure. So imagine adding a transfer here and there and complicating their ride to the point that they're going to miss that doctor's appointment or that job interview or even get to their job. So we, as a city council, should act with urgency here to ensure that all of the people's voices are being elevated, and we don't need to simply allow RIDOT to unilaterally, without input, make people's lives more difficult. So our resolution simply calls for more public input in this process. And that being said, I think, people will speak about this, and if you give them the opportunity, and the recommendation out of this committee should be that we recommend that the full council pass this resolution and ultimately put the needs of the riders first. So thank you very much, Madam Chair, and thank you,
Councilman.
Committee, for allowing me to speak.
So, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Before Councilman Pro Temp, I also see Councilman Espinal, and then I definitely want to get back to you, Councilman Pro Temp. Thank you for yielding the floor, but you're right, these folks are. Councilman Espinal.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thanks for everyone that's here today, especially to my colleague, the City Council, for such interesting points. I do represent a low-income community that relied on the bus transportation. And Mr. Devine talks about that 16% of the riders actually end up using transfers. So that would actually add cost to a good number of people that will come from my community. So I'm extremely concerned about that. But I'm also concerned that it certainly looked like a finished product when it came before us. But Mr. Devine says now that there's still a lot more work to be done, that this is not finalized. So Mr. Devine, at what point was RIDOT thinking about engaging the public? Because this is not so much on the merits, but it's also on public engagement, and people feel left out. So this is probably why this has surfaced and gave birth to the resolution. So my question is there any plans of engaging the public?
At this time, this is coming from a committee member. I would ask Mr. Devine to please answer Councilman Espinal's question, please, if you can. And Councilman Espinal, are you done with your question? You can put
Yes,
your
more or
hand
less.
down. Please put your hand down.
Okay, thank you, Councilman and Madam Chair. Yeah, I mean, there's been, over the last 2 to 3 months, there's been considerable outreach to stakeholder groups, as people have mentioned. The outreach hasn't stopped. We're going to continue working at this. We're going to continue with RIPTA board meetings for this process, and continue listening to comments and concerns from the public. We'll also be doing a Title VI analysis on any changes as a result of the multi-hub process, and that process will have public outreach also.
So we may conclude tonight that there is plan for public engagement at a certain point where the public will be able to be fully engaged in these decisions here, right?
Yeah, we will continue with our public process and our public outreach through various means.
But take into consideration that the process that you've been using up until now, it sounds like it has not been very effective in getting out to the people that need to know everything about this, especially the writers. We just don't want you to go out there again and refigure things, reconstruct certain process and things, and then find out that you're still facing the same issues from the writers, that they feel left out and they feel they're not being part of this. So my suggestion is that you take this into consideration and engage and fully engage the stakeholders and the public.
I hear you, and I will definitely I will bring that back. Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you.
Some reason or the other, my screen went a little crazy. So I think I want to go back to Councilman. I can't see too much. I can't see the stuff that are, the hands on this side. So go back to Councilman Correa, Pro Tem Correa.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I agree with everything that my colleagues have said. But I think at this time right now, listening to Mr. Devine, that there is no final plan as of yet. And they continue to work on a plan. They continue to work with the stakeholders. They're continuing to outreach to the public for public comment and whatnot. I think it would be a little bit premature right now for us to move forward with further testimony from individuals, because at this time, like Mr. Devine said, they're still working on some final things. They're moving forward to engage our public comment and whatnot. What I would recommend is that, we would continue this matter, and that we would have Mr. Devine and others come back for a public hearing with their final design and plans. And then at that time, we could hear from other individuals right now. If we were to engage in conversations with other individuals and have come up with all kinds of suggestions and stuff of their own, I feel that we're gonna put Mr. Devine in a position where he's not prepared at this time to answer some of these questions and things that are being put forth to him. So I would recommend that, we continue the matter and have him come back with a final plan at a public hearing. And at that time, they could also weigh back in. And then if we feel at that time that there needs to be more changes made after they hear from the public, then they can go back to the drawing board and redo it again. But I think it's premature right now to move forward right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Pro Tem. I totally understand and hear what you're saying. I do know that this matter was brought before the committee, and speaking with Councilwoman Anthony, she was very clear she was very clear that this proposal, which I haven't seen, I have to say, I'm sorry. I know in the beginning of the first one years back, I was connected to that last one about the hub. But this one, I have not been engaged. But folks who have been engaged are saying they have not had the opportunity to present before RIDOT. And that's why Councilwoman Anthony wanted the committee to understand that there is a process that's not being followed. So I don't want to just say, I want to wait till he's finished with his plan. I think it's a serious matter here. You and the rest of the committee members, as well as I, do believe that our community have every right to speak up about matters that concern them, especially people who take the bus. I mean, I don't take the bus, so I wouldn't be I wouldn't be a good person to give a testimony to Mr. Devine how that would interfere with my life. And many of us council people don't take the bus. But that's the concern I believe that Councilwoman Anthony have brought before me. And the reason I felt like it was important for us to have this conversation before the committee, simply because they feel like this, it looks like a done deal, they said. It looks like a done deal. And you heard the council people say that. And the second thing, they also are saying that the community have not had the engaging process. So I think if Mr. Devine comes back before this committee, I think there are certain things we will want to know. We want to know the outreach, what type of outreach did they do? And the second thing right now, it seems like when I first heard about this, there was an urgency of when this was supposed to be completed. So can Mr. Devine, can you please help us understand when, is there a timeline or something on this to be completed, the project itself from the state?
Yeah, Madam Chair, we're, the project's been around for several years in various forms, in various plans. The governor and Director Alvides committed to moving forward with a plan and utilizing bond funds that were passed in 2014. We are looking to complete the project by 2022. The last site being Providence train station. Providence train station has a little with Amtrak. There'll be some additional coordination there. So that's when we're looking to have the project completed. And in order to make that date, we'd like to, present the plan, have a final plan, engage with some engineering firms to begin some conceptual layouts. So in order to stay on that schedule, we've got a schedule that at least gets the early engineering phase going this fall.
So there, follow up. I see Councilwoman Anthony. I see Councilwoman LaFortune. I'm gonna call on Councilwoman Anthony LaFortune and then Councilwoman.
Can I just say something as a committee member, please? I just want it to be perfectly clear that nobody's trying to shut out the public from this committee. And that's why I had said, we really never do this in a committee meeting. That's why I said originally that what we should be doing is we should be setting this up for a public hearing before the URB committee. So everybody will be there. The DOT will be there. The state will be there. Anybody who wants to speak can show up and speak at that point in time. And that's why I'm agreeing with Pro Temp is that, we continue mattering. Again, we set up the public hearing. My neighborhood, okay, because people have I guess, a different mindset sometimes. My neighborhood is not a rich neighborhood. My neighborhood's a poor neighborhood also, and a lot of my constituents use the bus line. So I want to look out for their best interests like everybody else wants to look out for our cities and our constituents' best interests. But at this point in time, to further go into details and have people speaking like it's a public hearing, I feel is we've never done this. And again, I want to hear from everybody. So to start, to give people 3 minutes, I'm looking at 45 people that want to participate, and I'm glad there's so many people that want to participate. But I think we should be doing it in a public hearing form. Thank you.
Councilman Narducci, your point is well taken. I'm listening to both you and Pro Temp. I'm definitely listening to you. I just wanted to make sure that I don't misquote myself or you misunderstand what I was saying. I brought this before the committee because of the concern of Councilwoman Anthony, who have said that the public have been left out. I think to some of the suggestions you're suggesting is very important. That's the process in which we do things. And I don't want to underdo what we have not, I don't want to add on to what we have not been doing all along. But however, at the time when Councilwoman Anthony presented it, I think it was important for this committee to know that the concerns of the council people who have put this resolution before us is saying that the process has appeared to be already a done deal process. But what we're hearing now is that this is up to 2022 is supposed to be. It's nothing that's going to happen immediately on this action. But the way we usually do things is through a public hearing. And Councilman Narducci, I really appreciate that because we will have opportunities to hear from many of our constituents in our community. Right now, I want to go back, Councilwoman Anthony, before I go back to you, I would like to call on the city solicitor, Pro Temp, and then I'm gonna call on the city solicitor to help me understand what Councilman Narducci is saying. Can we set up a public hearing from this committee? The Madam Clerk, whoever can answer that.
I believe, and Madam Clerk, I think has more experience than I do, but I believe it should be properly. It should be sent back to the full council, and then they would schedule a public hearing. Have you seen it done through committee?
Let me hear from the Madam Clerk because she is definitely, she's been handling this for you. Go ahead, Madam Clerk.
Yes, Madam Chair, Mr. Solicitor, this committee can schedule a public hearing. So it would just be a vote of the committee to set this up for a public hearing. Then we can meet with the chair and the vice chair, decide a date. We can advertise in the newspaper. It has to appear 10 days prior to the date of the hearing. We have logistics to discuss if we're going to do the public hearing via Zoom or other means. So there's more to discuss relative to the public hearing, but this committee can schedule a public hearing for this matter.
That is so helpful. Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Solicitor. We learned something from our Madam Clerk tonight, so thank you.
Madam Chair, I would like to make.
I also say at this point, before you make the motion, I would like to say that Councilwoman Anthony, one of the important things that you presented to me was the fact that the public had that have not been given input. I see you going. I'm going to hear from Councilman Anthony and then Councilman Narducci. I'm going to call back on you.
I really appreciate the opportunity.
Madam Chair, if I may, just for 1 minute, Councilwoman Miller has also been waiting patiently.
I cannot see my panel for some reason. I don't know what I did to my computer. So thank you for bringing that to my attention. I will definitely make sure I acknowledge her, Pro Temp. Thank you. Councilwoman Anthony, Councilwoman Miller, and I see Councilwoman LaFortune had her hand up. Councilman Narducci. Councilwoman Anthony.
Thank you so much. And thank you very much, Councilman Narducci and Correa. I certainly understand where you're coming from on this issue. But I think what we're not hearing and what we're not hearing is Mr. Devine has been saying they've been going through a public process. There has not been a public process. I mean, I wish you could see all the letters that have gone into the governor to talk about the lack of process. So the fact that I think we're assuming they've engaged the writers. They haven't engaged the writers. He just told you that he has an RFP that has to go out this fall. It's September. So I don't know what's going to be happening now before the RFP goes out. That was my urgency. The RFP is going out shortly.
Councilwoman Anthony, you have mentioned that. Can you, Mr. Devine, is that RFP going out in September?
In the fall.
I'm sorry, the RFP was scheduled to go out in September. We have not issued anything. And one thing while I'm here, I just want to clarify the final.
When will the RFP go out, Mr. Devine?
Right now, we're looking at later September for the RFP to go out.
Oh my.
Mr. Devine, you just said that the opportunity for community engagement is still there. What type of community engagement? You have heard from the council people who are heard from their constituent, or heard from, for some reason, this resolution is before us. What type of public engagement have you had? And is there any record, anything we could look back on and see that this have happened?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of presentations to stakeholder groups, including the Riders Alliance Group. There's been a few RIPTA board meetings where this has been presented. Director Alvidi and Director Avedisian have presented this numerous times to key stakeholders, and you know, we're going to continue. Like I said, it's not a final plan. We're continuing to listen to comments, even though an RFP is scheduled to go out in later September. That takes time. We're still in that process, and even if we got a engineering firm on board, there's still that conceptual stage. And there's still the operations analysis and the transfer analysis that we're continuing to refine. And we'd like to, you know, and that's why I came here before you tonight, and to, you know, if you can hold off on that action and we're able to come back to you with more information and with a final plan, I think that, you know, I respectfully request that, and I hear all the comments tonight, and I'm going to be taking that all back to my leadership tomorrow.
Councilwoman Anthony.
I, with all due respect, I'm sorry, we're looking at an RFP at the end of September. I mean, the problem is the riders have not, this has been a long process already. The fact the riders have not been truly engaged. A presentation is not a engagement. It just isn't. They have gone through a list of presentations. They have not taken back what the riders have asked for or suggestion, and have not provided any data. And we're already almost to the RFP stage. This is an opportunity for us tonight in this committee hearing, and Deputy Leader, you've been quite a leader on this. These people have not been heard. They're just asking to, you have 15, you have how many people lined up to speak tonight. They want to be heard. They haven't had a chance to be heard, and this plan is way far down the line. And so for us not to allow people to speak, it doesn't have to be a public hearing. You're able to do whatever you wish in your committee, but to give people the platform so that they can express their concerns, which they haven't been able to do to date in a meaningful way, is invaluable. So the time is short. If we put this off for a public hearing, then we are now into October before we take any formal action, which could very well be after the RFP goes out. RIDOT does not need our approval. They're going to do this with or without our approval. And so I just feel that the time is of the essence, which is why I came to you and asked if we could have this hearing. We had 8 sponsors at the city council and on this resolution. I mean, you know, and I'm just wondering why it is that we can't let the people who have taken the time to sign up have their voices be heard at this hearing tonight.
Madam Chair, if I may.
May I call on Councilwoman Miller and then get back to you, Pro Temp? Is it okay? Can I do that? Because you did say she was waiting for a while. I can't see my camera.
Madam Chair, thank you so much. And I apologize, my video is not working. My elderly cell does not know about a pandemic. But I want to thank you for hosting this conversation. And I just want to point out a couple of things here. So I initially held off on speaking because I thought, you know, I'll defer my time to the members of the public who came to really the only place that there has been to come to share an opinion on a plan that, you know, and I apologize, Mr. Devine, I gotta say, this plan was presented as a final plan. And we read in the paper that it was coming out, you know, with a few finalizations in October for sure. So I guess I have a couple things. One, our only role, unfortunately, council does not have a decision-making role here. The only role we can play is to represent our constituents and make sure that they have an opportunity for their voice to be heard. And the best way that I can think of to do that is to let folks speak tonight, to provide a platform for people who, you know, many constituents who have been telling me, like, there's, aside from writing a letter, there is no way for me to have a voice here. And that the plan as it was presented, again, as a pretty final plan, doesn't represent how I ride the bus, doesn't represent, you know, will impact my life negatively, right? So I think, you know, when we think about a public hearing, we think about something that the council is going to make a decision on. You know what I mean? Something that's before us immediately for us to vote on. In this case, all we have, our only platform, is to stand up and represent our constituents who are saying they don't have a voice in this process. We can't hold DOT accountable to coming back to us. I would love for DOT to come back to us to tell us about how they have adjusted the plan based on the input. But unfortunately, legally, they don't have to. There's no requirement for them to vet this proposal before us. And so given that, and given how much I've heard from constituents and people across the city who have huge concerns about the equity issues, about how this plan does not focus on riders overwhelmingly, I think we have an opportunity, and I'm sorry we've taken so much time talking about it, but I do think, Madam Chair, you have an opportunity to let some folks speak, to let some folks share their opinion tonight. I don't understand the process by which we would have a public hearing, again, because it's not something that's in front of us for a decision, right? All we're doing is saying we have an opinion about it. And I would love for us to have an opinion about it collectively with this resolution, but really it's about giving our constituents a voice and an opportunity to share that voice. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilwoman Miller. Councilman Pro Temp.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So again, I agree. I mean, I want to afford everybody the opportunity to speak, but this isn't the proper forum for it. This is not a public hearing, okay? So I don't have a problem with everybody speaking tonight, but I would make a recommendation right now that we make a motion to continue the matter, okay, for a public hearing. The individuals that are here, okay, afford them the opportunity to speak, okay, on the matter tonight as well, but continue the matter, have the clerk's office schedule a public hearing where Mr. Devine and members of RIDOT and RIPTR and everybody can come back with a final plan at a public hearing and give others the opportunity to speak. I would not feel comfortable making a decision tonight, not knowing that we're affording 45 people to speak, but there may be others that have been out there that may want to speak, but they're not aware of tonight's meeting and that public comment was being taken because this meeting hasn't been advertised for public comment, where the clerk's office would run an ad in the paper stating that the IRC meeting is holding public comment on a proposal by RIDOT and whatnot, and this would give others the opportunity that don't know about tonight's meeting the opportunity to speak. So if we're going to give everybody a chance to weigh in, we need to do it the proper way and have everybody be able to weigh in. So I would make a motion to continue the matter for a public hearing, and then after we make this motion and take a vote on it, give these individuals that have signed up tonight the opportunity to speak as well. Thank you.
It's important that the committee are willing to engage in this conversation, even with the public. Yes, I can sit here and I can listen to people, but if the committee itself feels something stronger, that's why I have a committee. Yes, I do have the discretion. I did have the discretion to Councilwoman Anthony to open it up to the public. The committee itself is feeling that there could be a better process, which is a public hearing, which will give the public absolutely the time to speak. I think the concern that have been brought before this committee tonight is the fact that there have not been a community engagement process, and that RIDOT has not heard from riders, and that the committee itself, that the council people themselves, or it's very important that the council people themselves make sure that this process works in a way that community engagement is something, even if this is the only place that people can be heard from. I understand that. I take it, to heart. I understand what you're saying tonight. I also understand that the committee feels like there is a more that they may need, which is probably from a public hearing, because I don't know who signed up to speak tonight, but I do know that I could do more turning out in my community, which I have not done. I would love to do that. I have quite a few associations that are connected to Crossroads and Amos House, who probably do have a lot of people who only way of getting around, or people who are just mostly marginalized and not have a voice. I think that's who you are speaking for, Councilwoman Anthony. I think you're talking about the people who are marginalized and don't have the opportunity to have a voice and, not be the ones at the table to speak. You know what I mean? So
I would
I
treat,
agree.
Madam
I
Chair,
agree that we
Madam
should
Chair,
broaden this conversation. We should
Madam
broaden
Chair.
it. So at
Madam
this
Chair.
time, I will entertain a motion from this committee.
Excuse me, there's already been a motion made, if I'm not mistaken.
I want to hear what the motion is,
President Pro
please.
Tem.
You present the motion. Please.
Can the clerk read the motion?
So, Madam Chair, at this time, I would make a motion to continue this matter, have the Mr. Devine come back with some final plans or what he has, and have the clerk's office schedule a public hearing that will be advertised and whatnot, so that we can hear from everyone that wants to comment on this. So at this time, I would make a motion to continue the matter and schedule a public hearing.
And I would
There's a
second-
motion to schedule, there's a motion to schedule, have this meeting continue and to schedule a public hearing so we can hear from a broader community as well. Motion made by Pro Tem Correa, second by Councilman Narducci.
Yes.
All in favor?
Madam Chair, under discussion,
I'm taking the vote, and then I will have a discussion.
I thought the discussion should happen before the vote.
That is
Yes.
correct, Madam Chair, he has the right to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. And at this point, I felt like we were having a lot of discussion, but
It's
go
just a-
ahead, Councilman Espinal.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Just a quick question to Mr. Devine. If we would agree to hold off on sending out the RFP until we have the public discussion. Mr. Devine, please.
Councilman, I will take that back to my leadership at RIDOT and RIPTA and get back.
Because there is some concern that it's supposed to happen by the end of September, which is really like 2 weeks away. And we don't know for sure when the public hearing is going to be scheduled. I would like it to be next week, but that's not my department. But if you will hold off, because it sounds like we're scheduling a public hearing, but then you put the RFP out there, it feels like it's going through, it's going forward regardless what the public opinion is.
Yeah, no, like I said, I will take that back and get back to the committee on this. And when an RFP goes out, it does take time. There's a administrative process to it. There's approval. So an RFP doesn't mean someone's signed on, an engineering firm is signed on right away. So there is a process that it goes through, and ultimately it's we control when a contract is awarded.
Well, thank you, but it does feel like it's moving forward, and the public is not going to have an opportunity to speak, even if we schedule a public hearing. If this is not going to be scheduled next week, then it feels like everything is going to move forward, and the public might end up having an opportunity to speak, but it just might be too late. Just my opinion.
Um,
I am all done, Madam Chair.
I can't see who else hands are raised because like I said, I'm on, but I also would like, if there's a discussion, Councilwoman Castillo, would you want to weigh in right now? Councilwoman Castillo, are you on mute?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay, dear. As part of the committee, Councilwoman Castillo, I have a motion on the floor, but we're gonna take a vote. But at this discussion time, I would like to hear if there is any request that you also would like to make sure that Ms. Devine receive as well.
Aye.
We didn't take the vote.
We didn't take the vote yet, dear. I just, okay, no discussion from you? Okay.
No.
All right, dear. Thank you. I just want to give you time. At this time, yes, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Gonzalez, Councilwoman LaFortune, and Council Pro Temp Correa all have their hands up.
Okay, I can't see the hands, like I said. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Who has their hand up for,
And Councilor Miller also has her hand up.
But Tina, there's a motion and the motion's been seconded to take a vote.
Correct, and we're in the discussion portion.
But that's for committee members, correct?
You are correct.
Thank you.
all right, Madam Clerk, we will continue with the vote. There's a, and the discussion was between the committee members. There's a vote on the floor and that we, the vote on the floor that we continue this matter until we have a public hearing, that we come back before this committee. The committee will arrange a public hearing. It's been presented by Pro Temp Councilman Correa, second by Vice Chairman Narducci. All in favor?
Aye.
I want to be voting against it, Madam Chair.
Okay, I have, as far as I understand, I have 3 ayes and 1 oppose. Madam Clerk, what did you hear?
Can I ask how Castillo is voting?
How about a voice vote?
We can do a roll call vote.
Okay, Madam Clerk.
So this is a vote to continue this matter and schedule it for a public hearing.
That's correct, Madam. Aye.
Vice Chairman Narducci.
Aye.
Councilman Correa.
Aye.
Councilwoman Castillo.
Aye.
Councilman Espinal.
No, nay.
You have 4 ayes and 1 no. The motion to continue and schedule a public hearing passes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there an opportunity for us to figure out when we can have a public hearing?
So I think we can set that up tomorrow with the clerk's office. We can arrange that somehow, but I'm sorry, Madam Chair, but that's, I think what we should do now is we can move on to, I know that some of our colleagues still want to speak, but I would think that maybe we should move on to start hearing some of the public comment for some people. Whatever you want, however you want to do it. I see that our colleagues are frustrated with it. They want to speak, so I would continue to let them speak then if they want.
Councilman Correa, Pro Temp. I'm a little confused about what you're saying here because we started out the meeting actually saying that we did have some people here and they wanted to speak tonight because the Councilwoman Anthony, that was the whole,
exactly what you're saying. And
yeah,
we made the motion to continue the matter and have Mrs. Devine come back, as well as have other individuals come that have not had the chance to speak because this has not been advertised as a public hearing. But I thought as a courtesy, the individuals that were here tonight, we were still going to afford them the opportunity to speak. If that's not what we want to do, then we can just end the meeting, have a motion to adjourn, and
I would like first to, Madam Clerk did pick up her calendar. For the sake of the council people who are here tonight and having an idea if there was a public hearing, when that would happen. Madam Clerk, you did grab your calendar. Please proceed with what you think could be an estimate of a public hearing since the committee have voted in that direction.
So with a public hearing appearing in the newspaper, it has to appear 10 days prior to the public hearing. So barring any issues, the soonest you could have a public hearing is September 28th. With the matter appearing in the paper on Friday, the 18th.
September the 28th.
That is the soonest that I can work something through.
Councilman, Vice Chairman Narducci.
Yeah.
September the 28th is we can arrange for a public hearing. Now, I started off the meeting by saying that Councilwoman Anthony have some people here that Mr. Devine can also hear from. And we went someplace else and then we ended up back here. Pro Temp have said that it's okay to hear from the people. So I would like to know whether the committee want to proceed or do you want to wait till September the 28th to have the public hearing? That's my question now.
Well, Madam Chair, I think we already made the vote. And,
We made a vote, but then Pro Temp sort of backstepped. So I wanted to make sure that everybody was on the same
I didn't
page.
backstep. I said that at the beginning, so don't put words in my mouth. I didn't.
Okay, I'm sorry, Councilman.
Excuse me.
Let's not get nervous here because I know this is we all feel very passionate about this. We all care about our communities and we do. So let's not get aggravated with each other. We're gonna get through this. We always do. You know we do.
Madam Chair.
So please, I'm not putting words in your mouth, so don't feel that way, okay?
Okay.
But I do need to say that we did take a vote.
Madam Chair, you asked me a question. Can I answer the question you asked me?
Council President is also here trying to
Madam
interject.
Chair.
Go ahead, Councilman Narducci.
Thank you. At this point in time, like I said, and I'll say it again, we already, like you had said, Madam Chair, we already passed a motion to continue this meeting for a public hearing so all the public can be heard. And I would put out a motion at this point in time to adjourn the meeting.
Second end motion.
I would like to hear from the council president and then move on from here.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
My apologies.
Council President.
Thank you. My apologies. I was in another meeting. I didn't catch the whole meeting. I was hoping that we were going to have the opportunity to hear some testimonies today. I know that the vote was already taken. When we sent the item to committee with the intent to give the opportunity for the council members to learn more about this issue. Right. The council members that reached out to me said that they didn't have enough information to make a decision on the floor during our last meeting. So what I was hoping is that we could all learn a little bit more about this issue from all the parties. I'm not expecting for anyone to take a position. I was expecting that we were going to learn tonight from everyone involved, the different parties that have the information. At this point, you guys, this already a vote has been taken. I just want to just go back to all of you as member of the committee to ask if how you want to see it.
What you say at the end, Councilwoman? What did you say?
So I just want to make sure to let the members of the committee see how they want to proceed moving forward. I just was stating what I thought we were going to get done during this committee meeting. So
yes.
And Madam Chair, through you to the council president.
Councilman Narducci, you have the floor.
Council President, what we as a committee decided to do is we passed a motion, and the motion was seconded, and the vote was taken to continue this matter, set it up for a public hearing, so all of our city, the people in our city, are notified publicly about the meeting, and we can have as many people voice their concerns at the public hearing that want to, not just people that were invited to this particular meeting. And with that being said, I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
There is a motion on the floor to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second that motion, Madam Chair.
There is a motion, there is a second. Any opposed? Your motion carries. We'll try to continue this conversation. I'm on the 28th. We're gonna put this out in the notice and get it started where Madam Clerk, we will continue to work to get this out for a broader community to attend. Thank you, Councilwoman Anthony, for bringing this matter before the committee and educating us on what's going on, you know, with the transportation. Thank you.
I just have
And
one
other
comment
committee
about
members.
the Deputy Majority Leader about the date. It's 9/28 is Yom Kippur. So that's a holiday for the 28th of September.
Is it
It's a Jewish holiday.
I believe,
an important
yes.
Jewish holiday.
Yom Kippur, yeah. Yeah.
Madam Clerk,
Council President?
can we work offline with the
We will work
clerk?
offline with the
That
clerk
makes
and
sense.
figure
and
it out. Thank
communicate with
you.
Everyone.
I want to thank the
Yeah,
council people who have brought this matter, and I want to thank you all for participating.
Yeah.
This is something that's very deep and concerning to all of us
Mhm.
in our community.
Madam
So
Chair.
thank you.
Deputy Majority Leader, the other thing is we made a motion, like I had Robert's rules open. We made a motion without ensuring that all people who are even our council members who are non-committee members, because I do understand it wasn't a public hearing, but we didn't hear input from the many people who raised their hands. And so I'm just concerned. Perhaps I might have it wrong, and maybe we could talk about it offline. But I don't know if the motion should have been made without engaging or finalizing the discussion.
Well, we had the discussion, and the motion was made to adjourn the meeting.
Yes,
And
Vice
Madam Chair, there-
Vice Chair. But the
Right
problem
now-
is that the motion,
Right now-
there was hands that were raised, Vice Chair.
Madam Chair, there are four
Motion
people
was
right
made
now
by the
who have their
committee
hands
to
raised.
adjourn the meeting.
We have to have one at a time talking, please.
Well, Tina, the meeting was adjourned. So at this point in time, the meeting's over, correct?
That's fine, but my
Can we-
pushback is the meeting was adjourned and the motion was made to adjourn the meeting without first recognizing the many council members, because they're not the public, they're elected officials, without recognizing them during the meeting.
So,
Councilman
Motion.
LaFortune, this is a committee. And
Right.
so definitely, you know, I have to definitely make sure that the committee members, I brought it before the committee.
Yes.
So we, like the council president said, so the committee could learn more about what this resolution was. We did, I tried to proceed, but I also have a committee, you know, I do have, the discretion was to bring it before the committee. I use my
Absolutely.
discretion to do it. I also are very open-minded. The council people realized that it was common. Whatever they made decisions about or whatever they felt about tonight is a part of decision-making that the committee is allowed to have. So again, I would like for us to try to figure out how to work through this and definitely address this situation because it's very serious.
Yep.
Address it and try to find the timing. Again, we'll work with the clerk offline to try to figure out another date and make sure that our council people are connected to that.
Yeah, good job, man.
You can talk to me more about the Robert rules of not just only taking a vote from the committee and see whether that is.
No, my question had nothing to do with the vote, Deputy Chairs. I do understand the way it works in terms of the committee making the vote. It had
Okay.
nothing to do with the vote. It was more in terms of making comment. But I do understand where you're coming from, Deputy Chair,
Yeah.
in terms of prioritizing the committee members as they're the ones who are making the final decision. Just was
Yes.
thinking of
And
acknowledging.
I gotta say, Councilwoman, I have to apologize. For some reason, my screen got a little crazy and I couldn't see hands. And, you know, the clerk was trying to help me out as much as she can. I do respect all of you and I respect your opinion. And there's a fact is we're trying to work together on this. It's no separation. None of us should separate on this issue.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being with tonight. I appreciate you being here. Thank you. And thank you for our guests that came to speak with us tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Have a good night.
You too.